Hello class, welcome to Accounting 2301. Today we'll be taking a look at some practice problems from Chapter 13. And hopefully you recall this chapter is about short-run decision making and relevant costs. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Take a look at the first problem here. We're told that Pasha Company produces 50 defective units. They had a unit manufacturing cost of $30. These defective units were discovered before leaving the plant. So there's two decisions that the company can make here. Either sell them as is for $20, or they can rework them at a cost of $15 and sell them at the regular price of $50. So the question here is, which is not a relevant cost to the sell or rework decision? And we can recall that to be relevant, a cost needs to differ. Let's get rid of that there. In order to be relevant, a cost needs to differ for the different alternatives and also be future-oriented. So if we take a look here, we know that the unit manufacturing cost of $30 has already happened, so there's no way to take that cost back. Therefore, that's going to be the same for both alternatives. And we know that that manufacturing cost of $30 is then not a relevant cost. So that will meet the criteria for our question, and the answer here is C. Next up, we can take a look at number 2. Depreciation of equipment is an example of what type of cost. And if we think about depreciation, this really can't be affected by any future action that the company might take. No matter what alternative the company comes up with, they might come up with 10 different alternatives, but no matter what, that depreciation is still going to happen. So this is what we would consider to be a sunk cost. And just by definition, sunk costs cannot be affected by any future action, and it's the same across all alternatives. So number 3 here, we have a company that's considering a special order. And if we skip down, just kind of see what the question's asking for here before we go through all the details. We're trying to figure out what would be a relevant cost to that special order. So if we think about what's going to be different for that special order versus the alternative of not taking the special order. So we know we're always looking for items like the sales price in the special order, any extra direct materials, any direct labor, any overhead, any costs that are specifically going to be related to that special order. And if we kind of just move along through here, the special order would be for 1,000 units, priced at $8.90. And we're given some other information about the materials, about the direct labor. So it looks like there's several items here that the company would consider to be relevant. So if we look at the options that we are given here, the normal selling price is not a factor. We're thinking about a special order here. So, the company may not actually produce these units if they were not the special order. The fixed factory overhead, if we look into the problem here, the order would not raise the total fixed factory overhead, so that is not a relevant factor. Money spent on donuts and coffee, really irrelevant to production in general, so that one's not the answer here. And we see that we do have the $8.90 selling price per unit of special order, so that is relevant to our decision. Taking a look at number 4 here, Abbott Company is considering purchasing a new machine to replace a machine that was purchased 1 year ago. It's not achieving the expected results, which is unfortunate. Pretty young machine there, 1 year. Hopefully that, they would want that to last a little bit longer. So we're looking for which item is not relevant, which item is irrelevant to our decision here. So thinking of relevance, is it different amongst the alternatives, and is it looking into the future? So the expected maintenance cost of the new machine, that is specific to the alternative of purchasing a new machine. so that would be relevant. The purchase cost of the existing machine, since we know that we've already purchased that, that is going to be the same whether we keep that machine or whether we go ahead and get a new machine. So it does not differ amongst alternatives. So that is our irrelevant cost. If we weren't able to, pick that out, make the distinction, we could keep going through and see if we could eliminate some other options here. So the expected maintenance cost of the existing machine, that's only going to exist if we do keep the existing machine, so that is relevant. And the expected resale value of the existing machine, that is only going to exist if we decide to get a new machine and make the sale of the existing machine. So again, that differs amongst our alternatives and would be relevant to the decision. Moving on here to number 5. Got a company producing, unfortunately produced some defective units, 150 of them. They had a manufacturing cost of $30. They were discovered before leaving the plant, so luckily the company has some options here. They can either spend $20 for each item and, they could sell them as is for $20. So just right away, sell them out the door. Or they can do a little rework for $15 and sell them at the regular price of $50. So we can see here we have 2 alternatives, and this particular question is not asking us to choose between the 2 alternatives, but instead is just asking what's the relevant cost if we rework the defective units. So we know that our relevant costs are only the costs specific to that particular alternative, and we see here if we rework, it's going to be $15 per unit. We know that there was 150 units, so if we multiply this out here, it's $2,250. So the answer is E. And just something to note on this one, the manufacturing cost of $30, since these were already produced before we're making our decision to either sell as is or to rework, that unit cost is going to be irrelevant. It's going to be the same between both alternatives. Moving on, we can take a look at the last problem here. Number 6. Which of the following costs is not relevant to a decision to sell a product at split off or process the product further and then sell the product? So if we're thinking about this, we can think about the example where we have an apple orchard. The apple orchard maybe has 2 different grades of apples. One are kind of the more grocery store style where you can sell them off, people can eat them, purchase them as is, in a grocery type setting. And then you may have some lesser quality apples that are still great for apple pies, but maybe people wouldn't want to eat them right off the shelf. So with those 2 different grades of apples, then the orchard needs to make a decision. Should they sell those lower grade apples directly to maybe a manufacturer of apple pies, or should they do a little bit of rework and actually make the pie filling, do some extra processing, and then sell the filling to wherever that's going to go, maybe again to the pie manufacturer. So if we think about this, what's going to be relevant, what is different between those alternatives, and the joint costs allocated to the product, kind of by definition, thinking about this, we know that that's not relevant. It's a joint cost, so it's incurred regardless of the alternative that's chosen. If you weren't able to pick that one out right off the bat, you can kind of go through the rest of the alternatives. So the selling price of the product at split off, that's definitely going to factor in. You're looking at the selling price versus the additional processing costs and the selling price after further processing. So these last three items, just kind of by definition how this split-off decision works, all of these other items are going to be relevant. So the answer here is A. That is it for our practice problems for Chapter 13. Any questions that anyone has, can please bring them to class next time.